What I thought we'd talk about today was my free ebook. It's called 5 Ways to Attain Ease in Practice. When you've been in practice a long time, like myself, I've got so many systems I can use. And what you discover as you've been in practice a while, or as you've been doing anything for a while, really, you realize that you've got all of these systems, all of these things. It's like all your extra clothes that you're not sure, shall I throw that away or not? Oh, is it too big for me? And sometimes that's the same with our systems. What systems do you currently use? What systems do you need, or you think you need, or you think there's a gap, but you don't know what you should put in there? And how do you intend to use your new system? Hello and welcome. Mentoring with Geraldine is a bite-sized practitioner podcast for naturopaths, nutritionists, herbalists, and practitioners. This podcast responds directly to your needs, the needs of the practicing natural therapist. With interviews, herbal discussions, something business and something clinical each week, you'll get the variety you need and enjoy to stay motivated in practice. Hello and welcome to Mentoring with Geraldine and the Bite Size Podcast. How are you? How's it all going in your world? Anything interesting happening? Anything you'd like to tell me about? You can email me or message me. I love getting messages from people and I always answer. So if you've got something to ask me or something to share, then please do. It'd be great to hear from you. What I thought we'd talk about today was my free ebook. So in my normal way, I've overcreated as always, and it's a workbook really. So it's called 5 Ways to Attain Ease in Practice Online. And it's really easy to get your hands on. You just go to geraldineheadley.podia.com/ebook-download. Or you can just go to my site and it's along the top bar, which might be even easier. Mightn't do it, geraldineheadley.podia.com. That saves all that mucking around with the last bit. But anyway, so it's called 5 Ways to Attain Ease in Practice. And what it's looking at are all your systems in practice, all the possible systems you could have in practice. They're really only the ones that I've come across and the ones that I've used or that I know people are using. And then I have preferences within the lists of the ones that I would recommend depending on where the person is in their practice and what they're doing, what they need, what they use. And that's part of the Practitioner 90-Day Program. And also it will become part of the Graduate Mastery Program, is making sure that we're all set up. Because that's the thing, isn't it? When you've been in practice a long time, like myself, I've got so many systems I can use. I've bought so many. I use Zoom all the time, and yet I have this system called Hey Summit that I bought that I've used once, that I still own, that I can present webinars on, which I don't use. And what you discover as you've been in practice a while, or as you've been doing anything for a while, really, you realize that you've got all of these systems, all of these things. It's like all your extra clothes that you're not sure, shall I throw that away or not? Oh, is it too big for me? And sometimes that's the same with our systems. Or, the systems we've bought and then something else has come out afterwards and you're putting things off. It's like the webinar system. I'm sorry, not the webinar system, the email system I'm using at the moment. I find it very clunky and it's really not very pretty. And I found a much prettier one. And I'm thinking, right, I am going to move everything. I've talked to you about emails and following up your clients. And of course, those emails, when we follow up our clients, that's part of our system and that's part of our booking system. We've got to make sure we've got those email systems in play. So how are you going to do that? What are you using? So what I've done is it's a workbook. Okay. And it's all about your system so that you can go through and you can see what booking systems there are, payment systems, delivery systems, like your mail system. What are you using? The text systems, where you can store things, and it's how we're going to use these things. And when you look at them, it's also got social media sites on there. And when you look at it and when you do that audit, you may discover that you've oversubscribed or you've completely undersubscribed, and that's where your problems are. So, the first page it asks, it's an audit. There was actually 2 pages that are exactly the same. And because I thought I just put one in and I thought, well, maybe I need another one, because you might suddenly think of another system or you want to write something different on here. Like, I use Acuity, which can take payments for and can book in appointments. But I also have Podia. So would I want to have 2 different pages or would I put them on the same page? So that's why I thought, let's have a couple of pages there just for ease for you guys. So, what systems do you currently use? what systems do you need, or you think you need, or you think there's a gap, but you don't know what you should put in there? And how do you intend to use your new system? So is it going to be a whole practice system? Do you want it primarily so that you can organize programs for your clients? Is it that it's really just a planner or a scheduler so that you can organize appointments? What is it you're struggling with? Where are these blocks for you at the moment? What is it that trips you up a lot? Once a week you get tripped up by that. I mean, I used to have a diary, and so I just used a paper diary. And then of course I'd be tripped up where I hadn't written in somebody's appointment. Then I started using just the calendar on my phone, but some things wouldn't go in, or I'd put them on the wrong time. It's so easy, isn't it? You write, Tuesday, the whatever date, and then you say, yep, there it is. But of course, it suggests the time that you're at now. And so you've ended up saving it on that Tuesday, but not at the right time. And so, of course, you miss whatever that thing is. So what are the systems that are tripping you up, and why do you want to change them? So that for me was, moving from paper diary, moving to just my telephone diary, moving to Acuity. So that I moved through the systems until I got a booking system that it doesn't do everything, but I find it very functional, very handy, cheap and cheerful kind of thing. So, but if I was working with clients in practice and I was doing programs, it wouldn't be my system of choice. So, how long have you had your systems? I've had Acuity a long time. Is it still right for me? It makes me wonder. It is actually still right for me, but this is what this is about. Is it still right for you and what you're doing? Your systems, are they multifunctional? Do they take payments? Do they connect to your telecommunications? So just say Acuity again, because it's the one that's on the top of my mind. So it takes my payments when people book in, and it connects directly with Zoom, which is the system I use to communicate with you all. So, in the YouTube page, that's all recorded in Zoom. I use Audacity to record for my podcast, but I also use Zoom. So it just depends what I'm using, where I am, all of those things. So, and also it's got in there, how much are you willing to pay for these systems? How much have you got? Is it that you have to use free systems starting out? You're just going to use Google to start out with before you move into where you can afford to upload everything and keep everything. So I've got a couple of pages so that you can just go through and have a look. Is everything security enabled, HPA compliant? I know in the States, I think they say HPPA or something, but is it compliant with health practices so that it's safe and secure? And then it looks at your booking systems and what you use currently, whether it's multifunctional, security enabled, whether it takes payment. Then we look at your payment systems. And again, does it integrate with the booking systems and your mailing systems? And then with your mailing system, what are you using? And there's some really good start out products, some really, really good ones. But, will ultimately, do you want a big email list? I mean, we need an email list. We need to be sharing our information with people. So what is the system that when you think about it in 10 years time, what is that system that is going to be perfect for you? Now with our tech systems, I've called it tech systems, but that is like, Podia or Kajabi or one of these systems that holds your information or maybe your courses. So, what tech systems, and it might be that you've got something else and I just haven't mentioned it. So that's a great page to put that on. Is it for your programs, your emails, your funnels? Then I've talked about social media platforms, and I've mentioned as many as I could think that people are probably going to be using. There's more than that, way more than that. But those are the ones I'm thinking, those, I know all of those. So chances are you do too, or you'll know many of them and you'll be using a number of them. And, with social media, what are your favorites? Because it's often a better idea to be really using one or two social media platforms rather than trying to spread yourself across them all. If you can get them all to interconnect, great. If you can get your Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest to all interconnect, then that is just fabulous. So, and what do you know? Pinterest isn't on there. I'm going to go and correct that before you download it, before you see it. So, how much is any of this costing you? Are you doing paid advertising? So, and we need to know, what paid advertising are you doing, and is it working for you? Do you know how to use the background, or should you be paying somebody else to do it? But there's lots of courses on the internet of how to figure out to put your paid advertising up, to do it yourself, and to check in the background of Facebook or Instagram, whatever you're using, whether or not it's working, the analytics. So it does ask you about those. And then we've got a notes page. And then I'm talking about your goals, because, what is it you want to achieve? You've got all these platforms and you've gone through, you've done your audit of the platforms you're using, the systems you're using. You've had a look at how you're doing things. But then what are your goals? What is it you want to achieve? And when and why do you want to achieve that? Because that's really important too. So, when we think about, not just what is it we want to achieve, but when and why. We need to know our why, don't we? Because if we know our why, and if we often say our why, my why is to educate. My why is to share all my knowledge from all of my years in healthcare with other practitioners so that you don't have the pitfalls that I had, so that you have better learning experiences, so you have the support that I didn't have when I first came out of college that I did have as a nurse. So I'm used to receiving support and I'm used to giving support. So, what do these things involve? Then we're asking, what platforms and systems do I need to achieve my goals? Because sometimes it might be that you look at a platform and you realize that it's not actually the right platform for you. You want to support executives in business. So yeah, they're probably on Facebook, but they're going to be in LinkedIn. So you need to be in LinkedIn. You need to start learning that system. And yeah, put stuff on Facebook. Don't miss those, and don't miss Insta if you're someone who loves photos and pictures, because a lot of executives will chill out looking at pictures in Insta. They'll just have that brain break. But chances are they're on LinkedIn, things like that. So, where are those people? And they might be on Twitter. Where are your people? And you need to ask them and check with them as well. So, and then of course, who can help you with sorting this out, deciding, not necessarily sorting it out, but deciding where you should be, what you should be using and what's right for you? Well, obviously yours truly comes to mind, got the 90-day program especially for that. But when we're planning, we need to think about, your dream life, your career pathway, why you're doing what you're doing and where you're going, and what your core values are that influence your daily life. Another thing that I think is really important when you do this audit is to look at your own barriers. Remember, we look at barriers for our clients, don't we? We think, what is the barrier to this person getting well? What is the barrier that's stopping them getting well, that's preventing them for taking that next step? It might be their diet, it might be behaviors, it might be finances. It could be anything. There are so many options in barriers, and we have those barriers as well. And often these barriers are within ourselves. And so being able to recognize these barriers is very, very important. So I've got a number of questions here, the best course of action, steps that you can take. What about outsourcing? Have you thought about outsourcing some of the things that really stop you moving forward? And of course, you can have a focus call with me and we can go through this information after you've downloaded the ebook. Now, I've got then a list at the end, and I have got a little disclaimer in there saying that, of course, it isn't the list of every service provider ever known to man. It's just the ones that I know of that I've either used or come in contact with. And lots of the big names aren't on there because I find them very difficult to use, or I've had disastrous, moments with them. So I just didn't put them on. But there's lots of different things on here and lots of things that you can think about using so that you've got these tech systems, to hold what you want, the communication systems where you're going to store your information. So when you're looking at, or when you're thinking about doing this audit, do download the book. Fine. It does ask you for your email, and then you'll get a few follow-up emails to check that you've actually done it. Because I do like people who invest with me to actually do the work. So, I activate. So I've actually recently bought a course, and so I was in there within 5 minutes and I'd already done all of the pre-work. So I'm waiting for next week's information to come out. So when I invest money, I activate, and that's kind of what I expect people to do. And yes, this is free. So, you might go, oh, it's free, I'll do it later. But, might actually be saving you money just doing this without even contacting me or doing anything with me. It might save you a lot of money in the long term to have had a look and to have done that audit on your systems and on what is there for you. So please go to my website, geraldineheadley.podia.com, and it's on the front page. You'll see where it is, and it's on the header as, download my ebook. So I'd love you to do that. I really want to support you in your practice, and I really want you to have flow in your practice, because I started out in a completely paperwork system, and we're just not doing that now, are we? We just don't have brown manila folders. And I will admit that when I started in practice, in my naturopathy practice, I'm going to say it, I used carbon paper. Many of you may not know what carbon paper is, but I had carbon paper. So I would write my notes on the top, so everything they're taking and what they want them to do. So their plan would be on one sheet of the A4, and I would give them the top copy and I would keep the carbon copy. So things have had to change over the years, and I've gone through these systems and I've gone through these changes, and I've bought systems and programs. And I know a lot of other people who are using systems and programs. And I think it's really important that you get help to decide which ones would suit you, depending on what it is you want to do with your business and where you want it to go. I mean, we should all have programs in practice. And I think it's important that we have our one-on-one clients because they need us one-on-one. Just like I've decided to start the 90-day program because people kept saying to me, I want to work with you. I don't want to work in a group. I want to work with you. And I was like, no. It's really good in the group, really good in the group. But some people just don't want to work in a group and they want to work one-on-one, but they're happy to do things on the side. So it's like the program I booked into this morning. It is a group program and there's lots of webinars for me to watch in my own time. And then I'm being activated and motivated by those meetings. And that's what, some of the 90-day program is here. You're going to need to do this because you need to learn to write a webinar, or you're going to need to do this because you need to, focus on this presentation or this workshop or whatever it is. So once we get these systems in place, we actually have time to look at other things. I've got time to look at this program and go, yeah, this is the program I want to do. I'm meeting with this very small group of people twice a week at 8:30 in the morning, 2 mornings a week. I'm thrilled. I can't wait to start. And I've invested in this. And when we invest in ourselves, we really do put the effort in. There's no point investing good money and not following it up with your effort. So I've written my ebook and it is free, but the payment of doing it will be in your effort so that you see what you do and don't have. And it could really help you with your systems and your focus and practice. And meanwhile, you've not paid any money. You have given me just your email address, and then you'll receive 3 emails. Please read them. It's always nice when I see they've been read. It does actually come up on the background. So that's the other thing. If you've got an email system, what sort of analytics is it giving you? There's all of these things about these systems that we use that we need to learn about. And that's part of, being in practice, part of running a business, part of being that solopreneur and doing everything and being everything to everyone. And then slowly being able to step back from not just working in your business, that you can work on and in, so that you've got that freedom to be able to say, I'm having a day off and off I go and do whatever. And I'm having a weekend off. I'm able to have this time off. I'm able to go on a holiday because my systems are in place that everything keeps functioning while I'm away. I work 40 weeks a year and I don't work 52. Some years I don't even work 40, but I don't know how many I've worked in 2020. I think I haven't had a lot off this year because, we've kind of been at home, haven't we? I think in total I will have had 4 weeks off this year, which is rare for me, but it's because I'm at home. So when we get our systems going, it means we can go away and we can relax. 2019, I was in Europe for 6 weeks. Now, I didn't have all the 6 weeks off because that's just not possible. I put somebody into my rooms. I had a locum covering my clients for me. So that worked very well. I'd planned everything. Everybody had 6 weeks of product. So there was only new clients that she'd be seeing. And all of my programs and systems for all of my students, I made sure that on those dates when I had to see, or when I wanted to see them, and I had to see them because they were booked in, I was somewhere. I was in Madrid. I delivered a webinar from Madrid. Internet's really good, beautiful apartment, fabulous. I'd made sure that I had everything I needed so I could deliver the webinar. When I was in Ibiza, I had very little internet, and yet I ran a 14-day program from Ibiza. So I recorded everything, and I had to record a bunch of, short videos for everybody on the 14-day program. It was very funny. I'd done a number of them before I left Australia, but I hadn't managed to get them all done. And so there I was in Ibiza we had internet till about 11 a.m. Then it got too hot and the internet just dropped out. And so I sat we had a beautiful veranda where we were staying, tiny little apartment, but a big, beautiful veranda. And I sat there and recorded all the videos, and I was like swapping my t-shirt around so that it looked like for one of them, I was in my nightie because I couldn't think of a different item to wear that would make me look like I'd woken up and done this video fresh. So it's amazing what you can do when you've got your systems in place. So I did some bulk recording and off it went. It's like these podcasts. So when I speak to Christine, we do from Herbal Extract Company, we batch those podcasts because of, I can't meet her every week. She's busy every week, but it means that there's stuff ready to go. And it's the same with your systems. You need to have those systems in place. So I'm someone, as you know, if you're in Strictly Education and Support, my #Training Tuesday sometimes comes on a Wednesday. It's been known to come on a Thursday. A couple of times it's even come on a Friday. But that's because I've had clients on those days. And then because I haven't managed to do it at the time it's scheduled in my phone, it's got later and later and later. And so when we get our systems in place with systems that can't be changed, that one can be changed. It's social media. It's a free group. It is a priority, but it's also not a priority in comparison to a number of other things. So I just wanted to tell you all about my free ebook. And I'd love you to go and download it and get into it and check out your systems. So I hope you've enjoyed the Bite Size podcast today, and I really look forward to chatting with you soon. I'll see you soon. Bye. Thanks so much for joining me today. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast for the weekly episodes. If you'd like even more support and learning, then the Academy is for you. Here you'll find part 2 of the herbal discussions, more clinical learning, and case studies to support your clients in practice. Bye for now.